Right. So the first book, everyone needs to kind of get it and read it. It's actually on Amazon and Audible right now, right? It just came out. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I can't wait to get the Audible. I'm struggling not to write on it on the book. But the second book, you're working on it. We're not going to talk timelines because, it's a creative process. It'll take what it'll take. How is that coming about? How are you structuring it? What's the thought process? What are you delivering in that book?
So this book has taken me, I started writing it not long after I finished the networking book. The networking book, the launch, I found really exhausting. So I took a few months off to recover. But this one, it was going to be a Shy Girl's Guide to Marketing.
Mm-hmm.
But a Shy Girl's Guide to Networking, for those who've read it will know, it's my personal journey to go from it being shy to networking with confidence. And I developed my own way of doing that, the victory formula, and using my background in comms and PR and all of this into how I developed the messaging piece and the follow-up and was part sales, all of my background, and I've kind of developed this different system that means you don't have to be loud. You don't have to be the center of attention, because I think that's where a lot of people struggle, and certainly where I struggled. So the mindset piece is in place.
But that's very important, the mindset piece.
Yeah, that's really the whole first part of the book.
Exactly. And I think that's been showing up in every episode that I've listened to. And it's showing up in our conversations, in our personal conversations. And there's something about that.
Yeah, I may do a book just on the victory formula at some point, because I think you can apply it to any situation to build your confidence very quickly. Anywho, I digress. So the part I struggled with the A Shy Girl's Guide to Marketing, as we've talked about,
to networking with the marketing,
the second book, as we've talked about so far, marketing's been my life.
Yeah.
It's all I've ever done. And marketing communications, I studied it. If you watch my podcast, that's not in my bar, in my study, my office, that I've read so many books on storytelling, communications, marketing, PR, you name it. So that's my thing. And so there was no personal journey to understand marketing as a shy girl. And so every time I was writing it, it felt like a textbook. I've got to like chapter 3 and chapter 4, and I'd read it back. It's like, nope, it still feels like a textbook. But
that might be helpful too.
Might be helpful, but it's not the book that I wanted to write. Yeah. I wanted it to have the same feel as a networking book, that it still like feels, you feel connected and it's a conversation. So then in November, when I realized actually I'm not necessarily the value whisperer, but I teach value whispering. I thought, okay, maybe that is the book. I'm not teaching marketing, I'm teaching value whispering. Because marketing's so huge as well. I was struggling to know where to start with value whispering. I have that process. Yeah. And it was like, part of me was like, duh. It was there the whole time. But anyway, sometimes we have to go through this process. It's about like, a bit like my company name. My company name is Melitta Campbell. But
who's Melitta Campbell?
Yeah.
Right?
But it took me months to come up with that name, because I think, well, now I'm doing business coaching, and it was kind of training, and it's kind of a bit of mentorship, and what do I call this? And do I do Phoenix? And I was going through all these names, and nothing was really connecting. Yeah. And then I was at a dinner party with someone, and I said, well, how do we find you? And I was like, oh, just put Melitta Campbell into anything. I'm the only one. And I thought,
oh, there you go. Bingo. Light bulb.
I know. So it looks like I was really lazy with my company name, but it took a lot of thinking. And it's kind of the same process with this. Once you got it, like, oh, well, that was obvious. But it wasn't.
Takes a while. It's a process. You need to understand a few things. Things need to click into place. It's not an instant process.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the book. And it's kind of the book of the show, because it does follow my signature program, which is all about the value whispering blueprint. And this is going to be the art of value whispering. And what I'm doing, instead of sharing my journey, is as you go through, I'm taking a client story. So a client, once they understood this, what changed for them, what happened. And it's been a bit difficult, because for every client, there's been so many milestones. Well, they did this, and then there was this, and then that, and the other. But I'm taking like the main thing, like the biggest example of each chapter. So each chapter is a different part of the process. And And I'm loving it. So there's still that personal connection, so people can feel heard and understood but they're doing it through their clients, not through me. And that's starting to feel quite real. And also, the big reason why I wanted to write this book is because I see so many people not understanding what marketing is.
Well, marketing is kind of big.
It is kind of big. And you
kind of need a lot of stuff to do it right.
Yes and no.
Yes and no. But
yeah. And I think for small business owners, it can be really simple. If we take that idea that we are the experts, we know how best to get results for our clients, but who exactly is that? It really comes down to knowing that true value bit, knowing your ideal client, that value sweet spot between the two, building everything from there. It starts to be much, much easier. And the way so many people are talking about it, even I find it overwhelming. I was like, I'll read this book on digital marketing. I was like, what? I have to.
There's a lot.
Yeah, I have to have a team of 50 people to make this work.
Yeah.
And it's overwhelming. And I thought, well, I've only ever built my business part-time around my kids, and most of my clients, they're not doing their business full-time. It's only them. Maybe they have a VA, but they've got a family, or they're looking after elderly relatives, or they're studying. Quite a few of my clients are doing a PhD, or they are still working. Maybe they're working with me as they're preparing to start their business. So very few women that I've come across are doing nothing but this one thing. So I wanted to share a method that was manageable and was so aligned with who they are and why they do what they do. It just felt really natural. And that I don't find anyone talking about. And I did a live session recently for a group of health coaches. And one of the ladies was like, well, how do I be consistent? I need to be out there every day doing stuff. I was like, that's not what consistency means. Not in my book anyway. Consistency means knowing how you can have an impact, how you share value, what your message is, and doing that consistently. I'm not on social media every day. This week, I haven't been on social media. Oh no, I did a post on Monday, but I forgot Tuesday, Wednesday, because, so, I'm not out there consistently. However, LinkedIn a couple of years ago named me as one of the top sales influencers to follow. They named me as one of their top 15 most authentic contributors. For 3 years in a row, I've won Europe's most influential business coach for women. And, why I'm so proud of these is because it proves that you don't need to be consistent. You don't need to drive yourself crazy. You just need to have a message and to genuinely want to share value and start a conversation with people. I had a conversation earlier with one of my clients that will be in the book, and her part is going to be all about that exactly. When she realized, well, this is how I can make a difference through my social media posts. This is how I can create a little mini journey for people who are my followers, so they understand who I am, what I do, how they can be part of it. They get some tips along the way. So now it becomes really fun. I'm having fun. I'm out there. I'm enjoying it. And
it's authentic.
It's authentic. No one else is talking about this the way that she does. And she's got complete expertise now as well. And she's starting to attract the perfect opportunities, the right clients. And she feels like she's in the right space. Plus, she's very aware that she's building this personal brand, but at any time she could change. And that's okay as well. Because I think a lot of people are like, oh, but what if I get it wrong and I'm stuck in it? There is no stuck. You're not a tree. You can you can move, you can change.
Even trees kind of, adapt to storms and wind and
so that's why I'm featuring her in the book, because I think that's where people want to get to. But at first she felt intimidated because, I have to post every day, but then intimidated because, well, how are people going to judge me? There was I have to put posts out and I have to sell my stuff. And she had all of this pressure, but when she realized that's not what it's about at all, she's like, oh, okay, I can do that.
Then the pressure's off.
Yeah.
The pressure, because the one you can be yourself, talk about what you love, right? Because we were talking about there's mindfulness in what you do as well. So, and there's connection with who you are. And that's part of what you're teaching in many ways. It's listening to yourself, to your voice, to your path. What it is. Once you're there, things are easier.
Yeah.
And this thing that what you just did, just rare, and I'm so glad you did it. Talk a little bit about your accolades. People don't really talk about, I won this, I was nominated for that, I won this award, because we shouldn't be talking about those things, because but I think it's important to accept that, to own that, not from a place of pride, but from a place of, yeah, I've done that. It is what it is,
Yeah, and as I say, it proves that what I'm doing and teaching works. It has that impact,
and there's value,
and there's value in it. Yeah, and I've only ever had people say thank you. Like a lot of people say thank you for my content, and people have asked. I've been offered gifts. I've been offered free training, so much free training. Oh, come and do this. I really want to find a way to say thank you for everything you've helped me with. And sometimes I haven't even realized I've helped someone. Like, do you know, when you told me this, that changed everything in my business. It's like, oh, I didn't even, realize that was a big thing. My dog has escaped, so if you can hear barking in the background, she's going a bit crazy. So sometimes, going back to the mentors that I had, it was like often the small things that they did that had a big impact for me. And I think we need to recognize that often it's the small things that we do for other people, the small things we say, the small permissions we give them that make a big difference. And recently on the podcast we've had Susie Sprigg talking about the 5 appreciation languages and how a simple thank you, and she gave someone a watermelon keyring and they burst into tears because that was their love language. And she showed that she thought about them, that she cared, and that particular point in that person's life, that's what they needed, and it really made the difference. So it's not about these big flashy things. As I say, it's those small connections, that caring to share your vision, your values, your expertise in some way. It can make a big difference for other people. It's wonderful.
And the way you're also doing that, it's there's a level of connection that you have, that when you're on the podcast, when you're face to face, there's a level of openness and connection, and it feels natural, it feels authentic, and it communicates out. And I think people recognize that, and that's a massive attraction point, because we're tired of fake prophets. You know what I mean? We're tired of messages that come from all these years of experience, that all these books, and instead of from the deep part, the connected part, and the part that actually recognizes the person in front of you, the part that recognizes the client in front of you and their struggles. And it's rare to see that. So 200 episodes, 2 books, common, and lots of accolades. Totally.
And 5 co-authored books.
Oof. So the next book is there, and you're saying that it's about connecting with your clients, and it's about talking about their experience and processing that out, basically. So it's going well, and it's on its way. What's next to it? What are you thinking about doing next to it? Like a huge seminar or something fun that we can kind of hang out in person and just kind of take in some of this advice.
I haven't thought that far.
That's okay. We'll see what comes in this year.
But I think the book is the book of the show of my signature program. So part of it is to showcase that program, because I think some people will read the book and it will land just perfectly, and they have the skills already to make that work for them, to go through and apply it. And some may read it with a friend or as part of a network and work together through the book, so that, because it is one of those processes that's a little bit hard on your own, particularly the beginning part. And some will think, actually, I would love to do this with me.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of asking.
So they can join the program and I can expand it. One really important thing for me through the program is that I never want it to be one of these programs where you join it, you pay a premium fee, and you never get to meet the coach. The coach has no idea who you are. They answer a couple of people's questions, but they never get around to your question, and you stay stuck.
Yeah.
So the way I've designed the program right now, it's got the online platform. People work through. They come to the live sessions. So we have 3 live sessions a week. So there's plenty of opportunity for them to come and get their questions. 2 are pure, I'm going to answer all your questions, give you feedback. And then we have a session each week where we look at themes. So we dive into deeper themes that are linked to the program. So they're really fun. So you're going to get the whole thing. But on top of that, you get turbo calls. So if you are ever stuck, and it happened with a client had something that was a little bit too sensitive. It was a legal issue. She didn't need legal advice, which I don't give, but just a second opinion on something that happened with a supplier of hers. Yeah. And she didn't want to bring it to the call because it was quite negative, and she said, I don't want to bring that energy. So we had a turbo call and we talked about it. And these are just 15-minute calls where I just help you through. Another lady, she's like, I've just been asked to be on the radio, but they need my bio. It was like,
and I don't know what to say. I don't know what to give them.
What's a bio? So we hopped on a call. We wrote out her bio. We had her questions, and because she had no idea how to prepare or what to expect, so we worked through that, and it didn't take as long. So being there by the side of my clients is really important. So I keep the group small, but there's definitely enough capacity. And I thought, well, if the course gets bigger, then what do I do? And I thought, well, I'll just do more sessions. I'll just reformat it so that everyone always has that answer. And maybe I'll do live events.
Maybe you'll do live events.
I get lots of people asking, like, can we do like a live event? Can we come and work with you for a week? I'm like, oh, okay. I would love to do it.
We drop that seed and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. If anyone in the audience loves organizing this kind of bigger scale event, let me know, because that's a bit. I used to do event management as part of my role in marketing, and it was fine when I was in my 20s, but now my 50s is, don't have that same energy. So I definitely need to outsource the kind of organization bit, and then I just walk up and be the star.
I'm sure you have at least 1 or 2 event managers in your network.
And the other thing, when I was thinking, it's like, well, who would come to Switzerland for an event?
That's an easy question. Okay.
I know. And I put that out to my network, and everyone's like, yeah.
Like,
oh, okay. And they're like, you do realize you live in one of those beautiful countries in the world? It's like, oh, yeah, I suppose.
Okay. So I'm super happy that you're at least thinking about a potential live event. In the meantime, everybody can join, on the live sessions, through the week and join the program because it's worth it. And okay, so what's next for Melitta? How are you balancing private life and personal life? That's probably one of the last questions I want to ask, because I want you to tell us, what's the part for you that needs to make sense and how it needs to make sense for you in terms of balance. Where are you in terms of that? Because we know how important that is.
Yeah. I think for sure I can always do better. We always can, but I'm happy where I am. In my first business, I came very close to burnout because I had 2 babies, very close together. And my husband was traveling, no support network here, no parents nearby. So that was exhausting. And then at the same time, I was writing articles and speeches for some of the most powerful men in the world, juggling all these projects that kept changing. So I was all in for my family, all in for my clients, and I left nothing for me. I was surviving on frozen pizza and a glass of wine at the end of the day, because you think, I need something for me. And that was my reward, but it wasn't really a reward because it was impacting my health and I wasn't sleeping. And anyway, so I came very close to burnout, and it was because I hadn't really focused on what I want from my business, how I can show up. I wasn't being that expert and saying that this is how it works. If you want to work with me, it works this way. I was just saying, yeah, sure, I can do anything, and said yes to projects that my heart really wasn't in. So it wasn't giving me any energy, and I got a lot of money, but that was about all. So I learned so much from that experience. It wasn't a fun experience, but it taught me that one of the keys to success is self-love, self-respect, self-care. You have to have that. And if you don't have that self-respect, you don't put boundaries in place.
Exactly.
And you need that. So this is the time I work on my business. This is the time I have with my family. I do not work at weekends. That's my family time.
And this is a time for you also.
And for me, I'm learning to paint and stuff. So that's really important. But in between, it's a bit of a blend.
Of course.
So there are some compromises. And sometimes at the minute, my family need me a lot. So that takes priority. And I know that's my priority. But in my business, because everything is so simple, I have this planning system that I use. It's like a little matrix thing. And I just have one thing per day. If I just get this one thing done, I'm good.
Okay, that's one of the key takeaways. Let's pay attention. One thing a day.
Yeah, and I do more than that.
Of course, clearly. We wouldn't be here if it were just the one thing a day.
Yeah, but if I only get that one thing done, if the sky falls down,
you made progress.
Yeah, I made progress. Because before I had like 200 things and I was like, I'm never good enough. I'm always behind. I was always beating myself up.
Don't we all have humongous to-do lists? So
I've got a way of categorizing it so that there's the one thing and then there's the bonus things.
Yes.
And then these are the things that are coming up. So if a new opportunity comes up, I can see, well, is this more important than these other things? So do I say yes to it rather than before I was like, oh yeah, that sounds fun. And then thinking, oh, when am I actually going to do this? Because I don't want to let any of this other stuff go, so you can really keep on top of your priorities. And then it's got in the middle, mind, body, and soul to remind me every day to do something for my personal development, because that's what I really love. And I missed that in my first business. I didn't have that personal growth. So it wasn't fulfilling. And something for my body, which is healthy habits, eating well, doing exercise, sleeping, drinking water.
Walk the dog.
Yeah, exactly. And my soul. So the soul thing is do something just for me. Something that makes me smile. It could be playing Candy Crush and watching Netflix, if that's what makes you feel great, But ask that question, does this feed my soul?
Yeah.
Is this making me feel good about me? Is this giving me the time, the space, the energy, the care that I need? And if it is, brilliant, go for it. Guilt-free. If it isn't, well, what would? And then replacing it with other things. So that kind of discipline has really helped me, and really focusing in on, well, who do I want to be today? Who am I growing into? Why am I doing this? Keeps my priorities in check as well. So if I start my day, think this is my goal, this is where I'm growing, these are the things that I want to be doing, how I want to be coming across, how I want to be pushing myself, and then I see something on my to-do list that just doesn't fit with that, is a very easy, okay, well, that gets shifted, or I stop it altogether, or I give it to my VA. So that's how I keep things in balance. So it's a kind of a simple system built from getting it very wrong.
Lessons need to be learned at one point so we can actually do the right things, because sometimes we don't know what the right thing is from the get-go. So it helps coming close, again, not going off the cliff, but just coming close to it so you can redress. And that's a huge takeaway, the balance part, like mind, body, and soul. Do something for yourself. Do something for, to keep you learning, to keep you active, because in the day of AI, we don't want to be obsolete like tomorrow. So it's good to bring some new perspective, to bring some new knowledge into the whole who we are, right?
Yeah, and again, it's giving yourself that permission to do what feels right for you, to do what works for your life, because there's no point having a business that's successful but you're like half dead, like crawling along. It has to work for you too, and that's the beauty of your own business. We forget this sometimes. You can design it the way that you want to. You don't need permission from anyone. You don't need to do what anyone else says is right. Very early on the podcast, one of my very first guests, Lisa, she talked about her business, and she applied to do an MBA because she felt, I don't have business skills. I should get them because I've been running my business. But she had the interview, and the guy was like, sorry, you can't come on this course because everything we'll teach you is that everything you've done is wrong. But clearly it isn't, because you've made it work. We can only teach one way of doing business, and the way you've done it doesn't conform to any of that. He goes, but keep doing it. It's working. And he actually invited her to come and present to the class. He said,
excellent.
We are learning this one way of doing business because that's all we can do on this program. We can't cover every possibility, but I want you to know that there are other possibilities. Here's Lisa. So, it's wonderful.
Very refreshing.
Yeah. And, I've forgotten her name, Spanx lady, Sarah Blakely. There we go, got that. She said that was her strength in business, that she didn't know the fashion industry. She didn't know how it was supposed to be done.
She did it her way.
She did it her way. And it's worked amazingly well. And she was there on the shop floor listening to clients and getting feedback and talking to them about the product and getting new ideas. And then go into the factory and say, I need to do this. And well, we don't do it like that. Well, can you? Sure. And it worked brilliantly. So I think our way of doing things, if it works for us, it works.
Yeah.
Period.
But she was actually talking about balance, business and home balance, and how important that was for her. Mm-hmm. And she's not the only business person to talk about how important having this balance is.
Yeah.
And how important to have these boundaries around your own personal time, because that's where you fill your own bucket, basically, with the positive things that you're giving out into the world. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to ask you about, this balance at the end, because a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of people that are starting their own businesses, we forget that, hey, it's us in this thing, without us, this doesn't work. So if you get that, then you start a little bit to, set some time aside to go for a walk, take some space, go paint, or whatever fills your bucket, whatever fills your soul. Yeah. So it's massively important. And I really love the episode that you did around Christmas about that, saying, I love you all, but I need to prioritize a bit my family, because it's important. It's the time of the year where it's important for me to be here. And I'm still getting goosebumps. It reminds you of, coming back to the integrity. You're coming back to yourself. It shows integrity through and through. And that's, for me, who I see Melitta Campbell as: solid, authentic all the way down. And that's what you're communicating to everybody else. And I think that everybody's here for that. And for them and for me, I want to say a huge thank you for you being you. And please continue to do what you're doing, because it's such a positive addition to the world.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And thank you for taking the time out of your day to come and do this for me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely pleasure. Thank you, Melitta. Oh, okay. Now I'm going to give you a hug. Thank you.
Now we can have some of that gin over there. Thank you for joining us for today's episode. Thank you for joining us. I hope you have enjoyed today's episode and a little journey behind the scenes into my life and what it's taken for me to get to here today. And I would love to hear more about your thoughts and questions. How did you find this episode? Was there any elements of my story that really stood out and resonated with you? Do you have any further questions? Come and share your thoughts at the Dream Clients Club. You'll find us at melittacampbell.com/club. And of course, in that club, you can obviously you can discuss today's episode, but also you can access an amazing community, plus tools, tips, and training that are already there for you, and weekly live masterclasses with me, all there for you, and it's free to join. So come along to melittacampbell.com/club and share your thoughts on this episode. And if you have questions, I may well turn those into a follow-up episode to this one. Let's see. Meantime, if you have enjoyed this episode, then the best anniversary gift you can give to the show is a review on Apple Podcasts. So I would love it if you could take just a few seconds to go over there, leave the review at the show. If you scroll right down, you'll see the review ratings and reviews tab where you can leave your thoughts there. Meantime, there are a lot more tools, tips, and insights coming up for you in the next episode. So I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye.